Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm delighted making my maiden speech today as the first MP for the new constituency of Dunfermline and Dollar. And it's a privilege to follow the member for Bicester and Woodstock as well. And I would like to congratulate all of the MPs who've made some fantastic and indeed powerful maiden speeches this afternoon. With such a high turnover of MPs, the calibre of the speeches I've heard since the election should give everyone a sense of optimism about the future and what this Parliament can achieve. Madam Chair, I believe I must start my speech with a particular tribute, and so I shall. They are known for being colourful and preening, for strutting around like they own the place, expecting to be waited on hand and foot by a fantastic team of underpaid and overworked staff. They demand honours. They disappear without permission, whenever the mood takes them, Madam Chair. In the past century, their names have included Andrew, Malcolm, Angus. I'm even told some individuals have been found in bushes in a horrible state. No, Madam Chair, these are not my honourable predecessors. They are not even members of the other place. Instead, they are the names of just some of the peacocks which reside in the beautiful surroundings of Pittingcreek Park in Dunfermline, who only last week were awarded the freedom of the city. Madam Chair, I am sure my immediate predecessors for the seats that now make up the constituency of Dunfermline and Dollar will not object to being upstaged by the peacocks, but I would like to place on record my thanks to both Douglas Chapman, MP for Dunfermline and West Fife from 2015 before retiring prior to the election, and to John Nicholson, the member for Ochil and South Perthshire. Douglas and John worked hard on behalf of their constituents in the best and truest tradition of public service, and I wish them well. Madam Chair, I would also like to thank my immediate predecessor for the Labour Party, Thomas Docherty. Thomas is still known by many in this House, and we should remain grateful to him for proposing first the idea of recalling MPs, although I suspect that gratitude is perhaps felt by myself and some of my colleagues than some of the members opposite. Madam Chair, my aw-dad sense of humour is something I was accused of having long before I had children, and where better than a debate on railways to put some of that reputation to the test. So I will steam ahead with my remarks, do my utmost to stay on track, hoping to reach my destination on time and not come up against the buffers of your patience. Madam Chair, I have never served in the armed forces, but I was raised in a family which did. I know much of the sense of public service I hope to bring to my contribution to this House is rooted in the values of members of my family that have done so. My grandma Margaret Delworth was a plotter for the RAF during the Battle of Britain, with the air raid sirens next to her playing a part in the deafness she suffered later in life. My grandpa served in the Royal Signals in campaigns in North Africa, Italy, including at Monte Cassino, and later with the UN in Korea. My parents, Jim and Cathy, were both members of the Royal Observer Corps. Indeed, that was where they met, and I'm very proud that they're in the public gallery today. When I was 6, they took what I now realise must have been an incredibly brave decision, moving our family to Berlin, where we lived on RAF Ghetto for 3.5 years. Many of my early memories are from here, and it shaped the rest of my life. I played football with FC Westend, a German club based nearby. The death of Rudolf Hess was historic, but meant I got a day off school. And the defection of a Soviet general saw my sister locked in the cellar of an air traffic control tower for hours. Now, Helen has always been a very supportive older sister, but I would be lying if I said there hasn't been some times when I wish they might have just left her locked there just a little bit longer. But it was an early November morning in 1989 that truly shaped my politics. I was woken at 2 a.m. by my dad, who sat me down in front of a German TV channel proclaiming, "This is history," as I watched as tens of thousands of people scaled the Berlin Wall, heralding the beginning of the end of the Cold War and moves toward a united Germany. Madam Chair, the events of 1989 taught me that oppression is not, cannot, and never will be either acceptable or effective, and neither should it be tolerated. I want to take this opportunity to add to the sentiment across this House that the UK will stand with Ukraine for as long as it takes to fight the aggression of Vladimir Putin. Madam Chair, he may hold the honorific of President, but a dictator is a dictator, as many before have warned before from these benches. It is that history, that privilege of observing good triumphing, that makes me immensely proud to be subserving the constituency of Dunfermline and Dollar. The area has a proud military history, and with the Royal Navy base HMS Caledonia, one that continues today. The Firth of Forth was a regular home to the Grand Fleet. Throughout the 20th and 21st century, the ships and sailors that protected us then and continue today have called that part of West Fife their home. This does allow me to mention Rachel Squire, who some members may remember was the member for Dunfermline and West Fife before her sad death in 2006. She led the successful battle to save the dockyard at Rosyth, and it remains a vital and major asset to the local economy and to our community. I visited the dockyard just last week to see the progress on the construction of the first 2 Type 31 frigates and was impressed by the talent and dedicated workforce who build and maintain the warships that keep our country safe. As the world continues to look to Britain for leadership and security, we must never forget the communities and workers who are the backbone of a deterrent and strength that so many depend on. Madam Chair, I'm afraid it is back to the bad puns as we ride the rails again from Rosyth to Dunfermline, Scotland's ancient capital. Close to Pittengreve Park and the preening peacocks, you will find Dunfermline Abbey, the resting place of Scotland's kings and queens, including Robert the Bruce, and the birthplace of Charles I. Close by is the birthplace of Andrew Carnegie, the great Scottish businessman and philanthropist. He valued and promoted industry, innovation and education with a global view of Scotland and the UK. His legacy of libraries and education is strongly felt in Dunfermline and around the world, no more so than in the United States and institutions such as Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh. However, a local historian told me that after Andrew's death, his widow employed a certain Mary Ann MacLeod as a domestic servant in her home in New York. Answers on a red baseball cap for why I might not want to dwell on that connection too much, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, as I continue my journey, sadly poor rural transport means a replacement bus service is required as I take you to Dollar, a beautiful village at the foot of the Ochil Hills. I held an excellent surgery there just this weekend, and I'm very tempted to return this weekend for the village's annual beer festival, and I'm seeing beer as a theme which keeps continuing throughout members' maiden speeches that we've heard since the election. Dollar is perhaps most famous for Dollar Academy, and despite cordial disagreements over some certain aspects of the Labour Party manifesto, I am very grateful and would like to put on record the excellent work that they do with the local community and schools in the area to share their own learning and experience. Travelling back towards Dunfermline, Madam Chair, you will find the railway tracks once again. These tracks transported coal from mines in nearby villages like Oakley, Comrie, Valleyfield, Salin and Steel End, and were more recently used by the former Longanic Coal Power Station near Kincardine. And let me say, Madam Chair, as the member with a constituency with a proud history of mining, I was delighted to stand on a manifesto that will end the injustice of the miners' workers' pension scheme. Yeah. At this point, I will mention just one more of my predecessors, Gordon Brown. He was elected as the member for Dunfermline East in 1983, and in preparing my speech today, Madam Chair, I read his incredible first contribution to this House, and I would urge other members to do the same. A powerful speech focused on the need to tackle unemployment. With this new Labour government investing in green jobs, manufacturing and infrastructure, we will have the opportunity to make the constituency of Dunfermline and Dollar and sites such as Longannet a driver of the Fife, Scottish and UK economy once again. Tackling unemployment by establishing new industries and expertise that will help the global fight against climate change. Madam Chair, I began this speech by talking about the contribution of family and my optimism for the future, and I will begin winding up in the same vein. First, I want to take a moment to thank my wife, Jen. It's very simple. Without her love and support, I would not be standing here today, and again, we have heard that across this House during maiden speeches, the importance of family. Madam Chair, I believe all members of this House will be aiming to make even the smallest contribution to creating a better community, a better country and a better world for our own families and future generations. I want my 2 daughters, Hannah and Ailey, and all children, regardless of where and how they start their life, to be able to grow up in a world where there exists the opportunity for their own aspirations and ambitions to be met, nurtured, supported and fulfilled. And again, that is something we've heard very powerfully through the speeches just this afternoon, Madam Chair. As the Dunfermline-born author Ian Banks wrote, the future remains malleable and retains the possibility of change. These are wise words, Madam Chair, which I will try and remember as I work across this House to create that better future. Thank you. Yeah.